The following Saturday, April 13th, at 9 a.m., I'm sorry, Go for Tortoise Day hike through Split Oak Forest. And I'm sure you can find more details about that on the internet if you just Google Go for Tortoise hike through Split Oak Forest. Saturday, April 13th, we are also going to have a micro native plant sale from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Deviant Wolf Brewery in Sanford. Love Your Mother Earth Day Festival. It's a really fun festival. We've been doing that event for, I think, the last 4 years. And it's been really great. We just have about 50 little wildflowers for sale. And we get a lot of new people come through that maybe want to add a native plant to their yard, and it's fun. Sunday, April 14th, we're having a meat garden restoration work party. And Hal has a few words about that.
Yeah, just let y'all know, this is going to be kind of a special work party. We have someone, we don't know who is constantly going through our restoration areas and cutting all of the ropes that we use to keep people out from the tortoise burrows and the delicate little plants we planted. So we've pretty much just given up. He's probably cut about, he or she have probably cut about $400 or $500 worth of rope by this point.
Wow.
So we're going to be putting in some new or replacing some of the rope pieces with some more split rail fencing. So if you're into post hole digging and rail toting, we will be there Sunday the 14th working on replacing some of the ropes with split rail fencing. So also yeah, we would like to, if anybody's got a trail camera or wildlife camera that they are interested in letting us use, we would like to get it to where maybe we could put a camera or two out and see if we can figure out who's doing this.
Hey,
Unfortunately, they're at different
get a
times.
wildlife camera, get an alligator box for it with a chain. Because they love to steal the cameras.
Okay.
Have we considered electrifying the fence?
We've considered a lot of stuff, but I think the simplest thing is, with someone like this who I think if you're cutting these kind of things over months of time, there's some disturbance there, and the last thing I want to do is anger somebody to where they start cutting down plants or wildlife. So we just want to. Right now, we are not even replacing the rope anymore. The more he cuts, the less there is. And matter of fact, I just walked in, and since yesterday, they've cut, whoever it was came back and cut 5 ropes today. So, or last night, I don't know which. Anyway, that's what we're going to be doing Sunday, and we have enough volunteers, and we get that done, then we'll also be doing some weeding, cleanup, and a few other chores.
We do have a number of things to do because we should have our burn prescription ready for us in the sandhill in the next week or so, and we have some things to do to prepare for that once the city approves the burn. So that will be necessary. Also, we're concerned that even if we put up the split rail fence, we still won't know who's doing this, and if they're doing other things, then we would like to know who they are.
Does the city not have some input on that could help us with something?
I don't think so. I mean, the board knows about it. They suggested the fence and the camera.
Do
Because
they
feel
have
like it would be
police?
important to talk to the people and see what their problem is, his or her problem is.
These batteries we're going to have to project our voices. It's really an old school meeting. Okay, so sorry everyone. All right, so meat garden restoration work party, and then we are participating in the Orange Count. It's actually the City of Orlando
City Nature Challenge 2024. This is an iNaturalist event, so during that week, those days, April 26th through 29th, they are trying to get as many people as possible just to go out into nature and just do iNaturalist and record a bunch of things on iNaturalist, and those counts for iNaturalist actually go into a worldwide database. It's like a friendly challenge just to try to get people to go outside. We will be posting about that on our socials throughout the month of April. And lastly, Saturday, April 27th, we will also be tabling at Winter Park Earth Day. It may be a micro plant sale, or we might just be doing some brochures, but that's usually a really nice event, and it's only for a few hours in the morning.
Where is that?
That is gonna be at that.
Ward Park.
Which
Ward
one?
Park.
Ward Park, thank you, Kay. Yes, that was gonna be at Ward Park. And next month is our elections for the chapter. And we are still looking for candidates. Anyone is welcome to run for any of these positions. We do have a few candidates we have candidates for most of the positions. Right now we are looking for someone to run for our second vice president of events. So if you or anybody you know is interested, please come see me or raise your hand right now and let us know. Or you can email us at tarflower@fnps.org. I've been serving on the board since 2016, and it has been very rewarding, and I've met a lot of people, and I've been involved with a lot of fun events, and you know, it's been a great experience for me. So if you're interested, again, even if we already have a candidate, we can do a little friendly debate or, you know, vote. So that is going to be held next month. We will actually be voting on the board. So any members who are here, any active members that are here would be participating in the vote. We do have a proposed change to the bylaws for the chapter, which is just for the duties of the secretary to be revised to reflect our current practices, which are written out here, pretty much to record and maintain and report minutes of the executive committee, board, and general meetings to the executive committee monthly, and be a custodian of all corporate records, but not financial, that would fall upon the treasurer, and act as an agent president. So that will also be voted on at next month's meeting. Really exciting news. I think they talked about it at last month's March landscaping panel, but our 2024 Orange County Residential Landscape Grant is live on our website. So I was going to navigate you guys to the website, but obviously internet is not working. But please go to our website, www.tarflower.org, and navigate to the residential landscape page. And there is a bunch of details about how to apply for that. And there is actually a hyperlink. It's kind of hidden because the color is weird, but you'll find the sentence and you can click on it and apply. And those are going to close April 30th. So the grant is for up to 4 people, up to $500 to help transform a portion of their residential landscape to a native landscape.
But you have to live in Orange County?
It's for Orange County residents, yes. Oh, here's an ad for the Love Your Mother Festival in Sanford on April 13th, where we'll have our micro plant sale. And again, happy National Native Plant Month. And now I am going to introduce our speaker. Animal and Plant Health Inspection Services, and has worked with a local civil engineering firm as an environmental scientist, surveying for federal endangered species and state-listed species of concern on many projects around the Sunshine State. He has a venomous reptile license, a Class 3 wildlife license, and is an authorized gopher tortoise agent with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. He has volunteered many hours with the Reptile World Serpentarium in St. Cloud, Florida, and has humanely relocated many venomous Central Florida snakes there for many years. He teaches natural history classes at Blue Gardens, including beekeeping for beginners and honey tasting, gardening for native pollinators and honeybee nutrition, native Florida snakes, and hotspots for Florida shell collecting. And he has been the executive secretary for the Florida State Beekeepers Association since 2015. Please welcome Christopher Stalder.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Anna Pepper for introducing me to the Backyard Biodiversity Day program, and I understand she's your webmaster now. And she worked at the same firm that I did, at the civil engineering firm at the time. And I also want to thank Tammy. She's helped a lot with us at the Backyard Biodiversity Day programs. We've been participating for 4 years now here at Blue Gardens with your programs. It's been a lot of fun. So let's get started. The most dangerous venomous snake in Central Florida is the eastern diamondback, not because it's got the most toxic venom, but because it has the most venom from a large snake. So they can actually kill an infant or a small child. So relocation is necessary in some times. And I have a funny story. In Hunters Creek a few years ago, I went and they had a small girl, like 2 years old, and she had been playing with her pet bunny rabbits in the backyard. And their backyard was right next to the pine flatwoods, a big conservation area. And rabbits are a favorite food of diamondback rattlesnakes. So are squirrels in neighborhoods. But you don't see them long in neighborhoods. Once they've been relocated or killed, they disappear. They usually stay close to home, except in September, so males will wander and look for females to mate with. But they can range all over the state in swamps and uplands. Gopher tortoise burrows are a great hiding place for them. They can even swim over the Gulf of Mexico to Calabasas Island and other islands off the coast of Florida they've been found. So it's an amazing species. This is the most advanced venomous reptile in the world because they have fangs that are retractable, and they also have heat-sensing pits. And does anybody know why the 2 tines are on the end of the tongue? Anybody?
The smell.
Exactly. There's a Jacobson's organ on the roof of the mouth, which the tongue brings the chemistry from the air to, and it tells the animal what's going on in the environment. And a lot of people just don't understand that, so I'm glad some of you have heard about it. And what is most interesting is this snake will hang out under blueberry or blackberry bushes where rodents have a trail, and they will wait, and even at night they have this infrared ability to see with their heat-sensing pits the size of the animal and the heat emitted from the animal that walks by. And they can strike at lightning speed in a fraction of a second and get through the fur because they have these retractable fangs. They can be longer than a snake like a little cobra, like the eastern coral snake is a member of the cobra family, and they have small fixed fangs at the front of the mouth. And they can't do that. They have to grip onto the animal and embed the venom. But this snake, because of the long fangs, it can get through feathers or fur in less than a split second and get that venom into the animal, the prey animal that it desires. And the venom is hemotoxic. It affects the blood and tissues, and it destroys the tissues. It's like digestive enzymes being given to the animal. And what happens is it follows its own venom trail with the tines of the tongue. So it doesn't need light. It can follow in the dark. It can still sense the heat of the body when the animal is immobilized by the venom. And it doesn't have any confrontation with the prey animal. So it's the most advanced system of a snake to catch a prey item, because constrictors have to hold the most vulnerable part of their body on the prey item while it's struggling until it is, disabled. And this animal, it's just so efficient and so amazing and so fast, and that's how they survive. Yes?
What happened to the little girl?
Oh, thank you very much. Tammy. Yeah, she's okay now, and I got the 5-foot diamondback from the backyard. And I said, do not keep your pet rabbits in the backyard, because you're going to get more rattlesnakes. So they learned a valuable lesson. Don't let your little girl play with rabbits in your backyard, because you're right across the fence from this flatwoods pine habitat that gopher tortoises and diamondbacks and other animals that they prey on just love.
I'm glad she's okay.
Yes, she's okay. She is okay.
You're not worried about the bunny?
Yeah, I was wondering about the bunny.
The bunny's okay too. I got there in time. Okay, so we're going to talk about the flora in Central Florida. Mostly they weigh about 10 pounds, and the diamondbacks, this is the belly of an eastern diamondback at the Serpentarium that I've delivered before I have this big beard. But
How old is that animal?
that's a really good question, and a lot of people think you can tell by the number of rattles.
Well, I'm not gonna go over the.
It's an indicator that it's an older animal if it's got a lot of rattles. They break off very easily. This one still has the button. When all snakes have an egg-laying system for reproduction, but some are held full term and they come out of a thin membrane fully developed. And that is the case with all of the venomous reptiles and snakes in Florida except for the eastern coral snake. It's the only one that lays the eggs. So they're held full term, and then the animal is ready to go about its own business, and it has the button. And then the others are called segments. This one had 28 segments plus a button. Now, it depends on the habitat. If the environment has a lot of nutritional food and the animal is smart enough to get it, they can grow more quickly and need to shed their skins more often. So after each shed, they add a segment onto the rattle. And I've got a rattle, and we can pass it around, and some fangs from the diamondback pass around. So.
Did I understand you right that you're saying they give birth to live young?
Yes, they're fully formed, fully developed, ready
Hold the egg
to do business.
inside and then
The egg dissolves.
the egg dissolves.
Yeah.
Oval.
They come out of a thin membrane when they're deposited by the female, and they're fully formed. And that's the way water snakes are too. It's an adaptation for the animals if they're near a waterway, and it's a seasonal wetland, and what will happen is there's a big rain event. If the eggs were near there, they would be destroyed, and the animals would all die because they would be waterlogged and there would be oxygen deprivation. So very often in our state tree, which isn't a tree at all, the sable palmetto, very often a lot of snakes will lay eggs in the fibrous inside of the sable palm when they're down. So don't remove the dead sable palmettos because they're an important habitat for reptiles that lay eggs. Okay, so this one, so it had 28, so maybe 4 or 5 segments if it was doing well in the habitat. So I would say it's like 5 to 6 years old, something like that, maybe 7. The most venomous reptile bites in Florida are attributed to the dusky pygmy rattlesnake. They don't get very large. It's the smallest of all the rattlesnakes. We have the smallest and the largest in North America. The eastern diamond is the largest. And they're both pit vipers. And these are little ankle biters. You can see the tiny little rattles. It'll sound like an insect buzz. It won't really be noticeable. And they may not have the rattles at all. They're very easily destroyed. So don't count on seeing a rattle. And a lot of non-venomous snakes will shake their tails in the leaves and make a sound like a rattle. Yes?
What's the size, I mean, scale-wise, what's the size of that?
The largest males get like 31.5 inches. That's like the record. The largest I found that I donated to the Serpentarian was 28 inches, which was really, really big. So most often you'll see them around a foot or
So they're not that
16
big.
inches. Yeah, they're not very big. Now, they can be very populous in habitat that's good for them. Dr. Terry Farrell from Stetson University, he did a 10-year study on the dusty pygmy rattlesnake. And he found in good habitat around the St. Johns River, there were like 24 individuals living per acre. So, I mean, that's a lot of pygmy rattlesnakes in an acre. And they will be invisible if they're hanging out on an oak branch that has been down. So never sit on an oak branch near a river. And look when you step over them. They're little ferocious, little feisty little snakes. And but we also found out that they offer protection to their young. So a lot of people have a misconception that snakes have no feelings, and you know, that the young just disperse and they just leave them. But no, they have live heirs, and the babies get offered protection from their mother. They display different behaviors when the babies are around to protect them. So snakes have feelings. They're good mothers. Oh, whoops, I went too far. Okay. The Florida cottonmouth, another pit viper. The reason why it doesn't have a rattle is it frequents a lot of wetlands. The Adventaeus piscivorus. No, Adventaeus is the other one. Piscivorus is the specific name, and it's a fish eater. These are the most hardy animals. They do so well in a zoological situation and farming situation. Very easy to keep because they're so resilient. They have super immune systems. They can eat dead fish when seasonal wetlands is going dry and there are fish flopping and dead and the remnants of water. They can go in there and eat all that decaying bacteria-ridden fish, and they're fine. Their immune systems can handle it. These are tough animals. Now, don't always depend on finding them near the water. One time I went on a snake rescue call at the Blue Heron Resort out on 535 near Disney. At 1 in the morning, I got a call from a security guard on the second floor of the parking garage. A lot of people don't realize it, but when you put lights on at night, you're creating a food chain for snakes and other things like moths and insects, and then the frogs come to eat the moths and the insects, and then the snakes come to eat the frogs. All I can figure is that a frog must have hopped up the ramp and it kept going until it got it on the second floor. Well, those Disney bars are open until 3 in the morning, and all the patrons are usually in sandals. If somebody had stepped on that cottonmouth, they would have gotten a wet bite. A lot of times, venomous reptiles, they want to reserve their venom for a meal because it helps them digest their food. It's their livelihood. And they will just feign and bite without giving venom. But if you put physical pressure on the animal, they will deliver the venom. And someone step on that coming out of the car, they would have gotten it. So I was happy to remove that. And she had identified it correctly, the security guard. And yeah, it's on the second floor. And I have found them under people's mulch piles and homes that were like across from a pond or a retention pond or swamp or whatever. So if you're near a wetlands, a swamp or whatever, you might want to leave the lights off at night, just carry a flashlight with yourself. So you don't attract these animals close to your home. The juveniles, this shows dimorphism in the age. The juveniles look like a copperhead, but they're not. They have the bright colored patterns and almost the same banding as the copperheads, but it's different. But this is a juvenile cottonmouth. Now the venomous snakes, when they're young, they haven't developed the musculature around the glands, so they spew venom. Of course, it's going to be a smaller amount than adult, but if they bite you, they're going to give you venom because they have no control over their venom glands at that time. But any type of wetlands or waterways, I've done projects where I'll be in like 6 inches of water and I'll come up on a cottonmouth and it'll thrash into a coil. Sometimes they don't open their mouth and show the white mouth. That's why it's called a cottonmouth. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes, but it's to their advantage to make noise and to let you know they're there because they don't want to be stepped on by a large animal. And so, same with the rattlesnakes. They're the gentlemen of snakes. They don't want to be stepped on. They let you know they're there if they can, but sometimes they're in a state of tonic immobility and they may not be aware that you're there, so they don't always rattle. But it's for your protection and also for their protection because they don't want to be stepped on by something that's not a prey animal. And very often the cottonmouths will flee when I come up on them in the wetlands. And they do not aggressively chase people on purpose. If they come towards a person, it's just out of mistake. They don't want anything to do with us because we're not on their menu. Okay, there's one that's in the wetlands. And they blend in. You know, when they're in the wetlands, it's dark, they're dark. So by thrashing their bodies, they're letting you know they're there. That's the one that threw itself in a defensive coil. If they feel they can't flee, they'll either do that or they'll open their mouth and let you know they're there. This is one in the neighborhood. They can have tints of green to them. There are even parthenogenic records of cottonmouths. In an area where there are no males, they will make their own males. The females will give a virgin birth, and it will be a male. That's been documented. This is one I rescued in the Vista Lakes area near the International Airport. And of course, these people were right next to a small conservation area. So all these new homeowners that move in, oh, we get this beautiful conservation area with our lot. They give us a little more expensive premium to be here, but we've got such nice neighbors. And then they put the lights on at night and you attract these animals. Most people think that any water snake, even a snake like a garter snake in their pool is a cottonmouth, but most of them are not. Most of the native snakes are not. So that's another cottonmouth at the surface area. Okay, the copperheads aren't here. I'll just briefly touch on them. They're in the forest up in Apalachicola River Basin area in North Florida. And they stretch all the way north and west. And I think they're beautiful. They have that hourglass design. Again, they're pit vipers, not as dangerous venom as the cottonmouths or the rattlesnakes. The canebrake is from Alachua County North. It's a relative of the timber rattlesnake. And they have those chevrons that are distinctive. And they can be quite feisty, like our eastern diamondback rattlesnakes and other rattlesnakes.
Those are the fans.
Okay, so this is our representative of the cobra family in Florida, the eastern coral snake. So whenever you're doing your gardening or out collecting plants from areas that are going to be slated for development that you've got permission to go out and remove the plants to, wear gloves between April and October is when these are most active. And they're mostly fossorial, under the ground, under logs, under slabs of stone. Denise Abreu, who used to work at the Reptile Discovery Center off of 92 in DeLand, she worked with these animals every day. And then she was working in the garden without gloves. And of all people to get bitten by one, she got bitten by one. And you need a trip to the hospital normally. George Van Horn, the curator at the Reptile World's Secretary in St. Cloud, I was with him one day volunteering. I helped raise a herd of cobras over a couple years. He and his wife, Rosa, had 105 eggs hatched from 2 species from Thailand, the Sufan's cobra and the monocle cobras 1 year. So I went every week and helped clean and feed. They started out about 14 inches, most of the monocle cobras, and then they grew to over 4 feet in 2 years. We took such good care of them. But it's an adrenaline rush. They're the most vivacious snakes, but when they rear up and they display the little eyes, the monocle cobras have like owl eyes that open up when they stretch their ribs and open up their necks to display in a threat display when they're frightened, so they make a threat display. But it gives you an adrenaline rush too. Bigger animals like us, because in the wild, the bigger animals eat the little animals. That's the only reason they're interested in them, and the wildlife knows that.
They usually, the coral snakes usually run away from you.
Oh, they're very fast. Yes, they're hard to
Very
catch.
fast.
Yeah, animals will either flee or if they feel cornered, they will stand their ground. Yes.
Is it a myth or a fact that the coral snake, they don't collect the venom because it's so seldom that people are bitten?
Well,
I've heard that, but I don't know if it's
Wyeth used to supply the anti-venom for eastern coral snakes, and then it was very dated, and then Pfizer Pharmaceuticals started a number of years ago, and they had a horse farm in Kalamazoo, Michigan. That what they do is they give injections to either horse or sheep. In Wales, they have a lot of sheep they use for this same thing for making anti-venoms. And what they do is they give small amounts and then they collect the antibodies through changing the pH in columns and refine it, the antidote, the antibodies to these venoms. And in Florida, you have Crofab, which covers all of the venomous pit vipers. Okay, it's just one blanket antivenom, covers all of them. And then you have the eastern coral snake antivenom is entirely different. So yeah, Pfizer has some that's out that I understand now, and there's been research into possums having natural immunity. I don't know if that's being created yet or not, but the chain with the pharmaceutical companies that went from Wyeth, they disbanded the program. Then after it was long expired, they kept the expired antivenom because it's better than nothing. And yes, you have a question?
So if you get bit,
Yes.
you can just go to the hospital.
Go to the
and
hospital.
They will have it.
Go to the
They have to
emergency
call.
room of a hospital. Don't go to
So you might
secondary
die
care.
in between.
Probably unlikely. Now, some people are allergic, but like with these things, usually it's not the first bite that sets you up. Usually it's the second or third time that will cause anaphylactic shock. But George Van Horn got bitten while I was there. He packed, this was at the 12 o'clock show, he does one at 12 and one at 3. One fang, he's allergic to the venoms, and he went in the lab, gave himself an epinephrine shot in his leg, adrenaline, and then we went to lunch together. We went to a Mexican place, but he didn't have any food, but he had a beer, and he had, you know, the ice pack with the antivenom in case he showed signs. What happens first is your eyelids start to droop, and then your speech starts to slur, because this is neural, right? Nerve toxin venom. And then the final thing is it paralyzes your diaphragm and you're not able to breathe and you suffocate to death. But he monitored his own symptoms. He got itchy because he's allergic and maybe from the adrenaline from the EpiPen. And then he had poison control column every 2 hours during the night, because very often with neurotoxic venoms, if you go to sleep, you might not wake up. So every 2 hours, they called him just to make sure he was still breathing. And he didn't, for that bite, he just had one fang and one finger. And he went right back after he gave himself the EpiPen and finished the show. I mean, he's had so many venomous bites. He knows more about it than the doctors at the hospitals do. So yeah, he's an amazing guy. But he got right back up on the horse, and like so many other times when he's even had cane over bite and stuff. But yeah, anybody else go straight to the emergency room. It's going to cost you over $200,000 probably the hospital.
That's right.
So try to wear gloves when you're out in the wildlands digging around your plants between April and October, they're more active. Yeah, hopefully you've got good insurance. Okay, this is one from Zelwood at the Corn Festival. Near the Corn Festival. Okay, now there are two mimics of the eastern coral snake.
Oh my goodness.
The scarlet king snake. This is a scarlet
What a king, red on black.
You can remember the rhyme.
Yeah.
Red, touches
yellow,
black,
yeah.
friend of Jack. Red, touches yellow, kill a fellow. But it's easier to remember the business end of the snake. If you're looking at the tip of the nose, if it's black in Florida, it's the eastern coral snake. If it's red, it's one of the two mimics. The bands go all the way around the body of the eastern coral snake, the color bands, as well as on the scarlet king snake. There's another mimic, the scarlet snake, and the belly is cream colored. It's olive cream color. So it's a little different. And the bands aren't as yellow on the scarlet snake. It's more of a pale kind of beige color. But this is a scarlet king snake. And I was lucky to get a good photograph with my left hand because I'm right-handed. But it just felt like a little lizard pinchy because it's a small snake. And I was really sad when I wasn't. I fed a lizard every week, and one week the lizard was still alive and the snake had died. But I was so sad because I love taking them to my classes. I've been teaching at Blue Gardens over 12 years, and I'm doing other programs. And they're just beautiful, like a bracelet of most beautiful snake. Completely harmless, but looks like the venomous one. Another picture. All right, the most prolific snake that you'll see active in the daytime is the black racer. And they're throughout Florida. And they have brown-chinned racers closer to the Everglades. In the Everglades, like they have yellow rat snakes that are more orange. So in the different habitats around the state, like the Florida king snake up in the Apalachicola forest, it'll have darker coloration. Down in Okeechobee, Lake Okeechobee, near the sugarcane fields, they have a population that has lighter coloration. It's all due to adaptations to their environment. So a lot of snakes will look different in different habitats. This one, they will climb the sable palmetto all the way to the top. You know, they're good climbers. They've got fantastic eyesight, big eyes, you know, they're everywhere, especially since we've gotten the Cuban annals, the brown lizards, yes, because they love disturbed habitat. They do well in disturbed habitat, and they're fast enough to cross the roads and neighborhoods without getting run over. So much as other snakes. For people that hate snakes, they love to run them over. It's a sad thing. That's how people are with wildlife, some of them. But yeah, I had a call from one of the staff at Blue Gardens. There was one in her skylight, and it came down into her house from the skylight into her linen closet. And I said, well, Lisa, just get yourself a bath towel, some gloves, and a smooth-sided trash can. Take everything out from the linen closet, and when you see the snake, wrap it in the bath towel while you've got the gloves on. Put the bath towel in the trash can, take it outside, and let go. She did. I was so proud of her.
I have one in my bedroom.
You have one in the house too. They're very common.
They can't see screens. So it used to get into the screen house around the pool and sit behind my barbecue.
Right.
And so I was trying to chase him out one day. I opened the door, but he went the other way and he ended up in the corner of the bedroom. And I just took the pool scoopy thing, the bag, and I had my husband poke at it and it went in the bag and we took him outside. But
Right. You're a brave soul.
they can't. They just, he would just keep hitting the screen. You couldn't see that it was there to try and get
Right.
out.
Well, they're looking beyond it, I guess, trying to
Well,
get
they're
through.
also aggressive, so if you try and chase it, it's just trying to hit the item that you're chasing it with.
Right.
They have no-
Yeah, they'll stand their ground, they're feisty. And Coleobur constrictor is the specific name, and it's not a constrictor at all, it's a misnomer. They really overpower their prey items and swallow them alive. And they're also cannibalistic. Right.
I don't know, he sheds his skin in my garden every year, so.
Yeah, mine
In the same place almost.
The weirdest one I had was in someone's dryer. It had stopped the dryer from running, and I pulled it out. I thought the thing would be dead. It was still alive, even though its body had been crushed in the dirt. But very often they get in the dryer vent. So put like screen mesh or whatever, like stainless steel mesh in there to keep the animals from coming in.
I think a little unknown fact is a snake can't back up. Because we've had the reserve get caught between hose and the fence line,
Right?
and you can only go forward because of the scales. So if it gets into a situation, you can't back out. You can only go forward.
This is a very similar lifestyle snake to the black racer, the coach whip, and they come in many different colors. They can be all melanistic, completely black, or like this one with very little dark coloration. Usually there's some markings around the neck. But they'll be in upland habitat as well as all sorts of grasslands, pine flatwoods, and pine oak forests.
Is it poisonous?
No. And they, again, are similar lifestyle to the black racer, and they're just in different areas around Florida. But where habitat is good for them, they're still quite populous. Okay, and I've got the Florida pine snake here. This is one that's protected as a state listed species. And again, their favorite food is pocket gophers, little rodents that are fossorial, that live in the coastal plains and the sand, deep sand. And they can also be found in the pine flatwoods and pine oak forests and woodlands and in grassy areas where there's a lot of sand. They're fossorial just like their prey item. If you ever seen those little white patches of sand mounds in the uplands, and those are what the pocket gophers make. And this snake has a shovel-like head, and it will dig down in the sand. And the one I've got here, I got a number of years ago on a project we did near the Ocala National Forest. It was right in the alignment of a toll road. And it was in pasture land. We were doing gopher tortoise surveys as well as the indigo snakes surveys, which is a federally protected snake, the eastern indigo snake. And it was diving down a hole, and my coworker, Daniel, I held it by the tail. I said, I don't want to hurt it, and he ripped it out. And it's been quite mean ever since. It was a little traumatized. So if you're gentle with animals, when you have them their whole lives, usually they'll be gentle with you and get to know you as their caregiver. But if they have a trauma, sometimes they'll bite. It also doesn't like to be in the pillowcases when I used to take it. One time I took it to Valencia. I did a program at Valencia State College for a biology class, and I stuck my hand in the bag and it came out all bloody, and the kids just roared and they loved it. I think I see a lot of blood. Okay, and they do a lot of displays, threat displays. They will hiss and puff up their bodies, and they will shake their tails. And if you walk around them in a circle, they will kind of dance their bodies and follow you all the way around. It's really cool. Kind of like a Native American dance. I think that's why the Hopi Indians did that. Okay. All right, there are a lot of diminutive woodland snakes. The peninsula crown snake, there are 3 different subspecies throughout the state. Really tiny. I've got a nickel there to give you perspective. And this is an adult, and it's shedding its skin. You can see where it's near my 2 fingers. You can see the little bit of skin that's been rolled down. But they eat a lot of carpenter ant larvae, and you can find them around dead wood that's being eaten by ants.
Chris,
Yes.
is glass snake, one for that, or is that a different?
No, that would be a lizard, the glass snake, because the tail can break off and grow again, and it kind of is like glass or whatever. The glass lizard, yeah, we have a couple species of glass snakes or legless lizards, yes, and there's one that looks like a worm, the Florida worm lizard. It's pink and it looks like a big earthworm. Have you seen one? I had one come up in our garden years ago, and I put it in alcohol and it turned tan, but when they're alive, they're pink, and it's a lizard without any legs. But, okay, so these again are in the upland habitats, and where I do surveys for the endangered Florida sand skink, Neosep springalzi. We put out 2x2 boards and keep the roots and everything from growing there, because you look for the tracks in the sand, because they actually eat beetle grubs underneath the sand, and they have diminutive legs. They have like 2 pairs of toes on the front legs and 1 toe on the back, or it might be reverse of that. 1 toe on the front legs, but they're becoming snakes, and they swim underneath the sand. This little endangered sand skink lizard, and this is similar habitat, except these will be found near the deadwood. The southern ringneck snake is the most populous snake in the state. A lot of people find them in the summer in the swimming pools. It looks like a little twig, and then when you touch it, it swims. But very diminutive snakes. They have toxic saliva. There are a bunch of snakes that are debatable whether they're venomous or not, because their saliva is toxic. This snake, if it tried to bite you, it would stress out and die, because it's such a tiny little thing. So it never even tries to bite people. Garter snakes will bite people. Some people have had allergic reactions to the saliva. Hognose snakes, the eastern hognose specializes in oak toads, so they'll be in areas around the state where there are a lot of sand live oaks or other oak trees where the oak toads live. And they have enlarged rear teeth, which are considered fangs, but they never bite. They feign, they do all sorts of antics. They will puff and puff, and they will spread their neck ribs to look larger, and they will flip over on their and show their bellies and turn their head out, stick their tongue and pretend they're dead like a possum. But they will never bite you, but people want to have them listed as venomous because they have this toxic saliva and they have enlarged rear teeth. But let's keep them off the venomous list. So this one is showing a threat display. It has yellow underneath its belly until the tail. So when it feels threatened, it will curl the tail and expose and turn the underside up to expose the red, because in the wild that shows it's distasteful if it's red. It's got toxins in it. Okay, the Florida brown snake is another. Like the garter snakes, the brown snakes will frequent areas that are seasonal wetlands or near the wetlands areas and the swamps. And they're not that common, but you can find them out at the Orlando Wetlands Park if you go out there. I went for a tour once with Pete Lynn, your longtime member here, for one of the festival days. He gives great tours out there at Orlando Wetlands Park. Florida water snake. Very vivacious, smart, alert animal, really fast moving. This is one that dropped 28 babies. They can do more than that. The green water snake in Florida, I think it has the record for having the most live babies at one time. It was over 100. But I don't know the exact number, but it's over 100. But the green water snake is famous for having lots of progeny at the same time. But one time I saved a Florida water snake That was the most dark melanistic one I've ever seen out of the 28 babies, and I saved one that looked typical. And just to show in my classes that when you look in a field guide, you may not see the snake represented very well, because there are lots of variations in the same species on coloration. They have that worm-like pattern on their bellies. That's another distinctive feature that the cottonmouths don't have. And of course, the cottonmouths have cat's eyes. They're elliptical pupils, and they have round pupils. All the other water snakes, and the only venomous snake in Florida that doesn't have cat's eyes, the elliptical pupil, is the coral snake. Remember, it's a member of the cobra family. It's a little different. That's a juvenile. Oh, the garter snake. Again, they will hang out in the grasslands near wetlands usually. They eat a lot of fish and amphibians and things. And so do the eastern indigo snakes as they're young. We have the Oriam Center for Indigo Conservation. Has anybody been out there? Yeah, for some time it's been run by the Central Florida Zoo. They took over. Fred Antonio, the former director, helped get that started. A gentleman that helped do a lot for the big cat conservation. His daughter encouraged him to protect the indigo snakes, and also they've done a lot of work out there. They have a quarantine building when they take in the snakes, and then they have a breeding facility, and they have bred thousands of indigo snakes and released them out in the environment, the eastern indigo, so it's a wonderful thing. The garter snakes, I think they're one of the prettiest snakes. They can have some blue in their markings, like a blue line on the side of their bodies, and a lot of them are green. Considered harmless, but you may have a reaction to the saliva when it bites you. They will bite. If you apprehend a snake, never reach for the face. Any animal feels threatened when you reach for the face. Best to observe them about 10 feet away. And if you don't know what kind of snake it is. But if you know it's a non-venomous snake, I recommend going alongside of it and picking it up in two parts of its body, like a black racer or whatever, gently. And very often they won't bite you at all. It's all the way you approach the animal. Okay, the peninsula ribbon snake, it's like a garter snake, but thinner and more elegant looking. And again, they'll be in the rural areas, not far from the wetlands, and they'll range, and get insects and things in the grass areas around those areas as well. Don't see them often in town anymore, but they're beautiful snakes similar to the garter snake. And if anybody's been to Corkscrew Sanctuary down near Naples, they've got them down there. I've seen them down there. Beautiful. If anybody wants to go see the ghost orchids down there. Okay, the native corn snakes range from the Keys all the way up to New Jersey. The rat snakes are great friends of ours. We've got not only the red rat snake like this, but we also have the yellow rat snakes. And further north in Florida, we have the gray rat snakes and the black rat snakes. And but this is what started the hobby of people keeping snakes as pets. And I've got several of them that I've bred for different colors that are not the normal one like this, that you can hold if you'd like to hold a snake afterwards. And very reluctant to bite people. If you've been handling mice or other little rodents, you might not want to handle them because that's the scent of the prey item. And I've got hand sanitizer if anybody wants to hold them. And they're egg layers. And with Mendelian genetics, you can have a lot of fun breeding them. If you get them that have the recessive traits for different pigments, like melanin or erythrocin. Melanin creates the browns, the grays, and the blacks. Erythrocin creates the oranges and the reds, and xanthan is the yellows. And So if you get one that's showing both recessive traits, it would be a good breeder. So if you have an albino, this is considered a red albino. So this one doesn't have the pigment melanin. So it's got 2 recessive traits for the lack of melanin. And, but it has erythrosin and xanthan. And this one lacks the melanin and the erythrosin, but it still has the xanthan. It has a little bit of yellow.
It's kind of pink.
Yes, they look a little bit pink, flesh color. Let's consider this stuff. And that's my last slide.